So many of us, we look at our situation in life to determine our direction. The direction that we go is based on our situation. It's all about us. We get so wrapped up in what's happened to us that we forget about what's going on around us. We look at where we are and we don't feel like it's fair. We feel sorry for ourselves. We even wonder why God would allow this to happen to us. You allow your situation to determine your direction, when really it's God's direction all the time. And your situation does not change God's direction. Is it possible to use your situation to tell someone about God's direction? In 2 Kings chapter 5, there's a story about Naaman. He was a great commanding officer in Syria. And he had a powerful position. He was a powerful man. His situation was great. And he chose his direction wherever he wanted to go. But he had leprosy. And he could not control the direction that this situation would take him. What we sometimes never see is the little slave girl who only appears in 2 verses. We focus on Naaman and his situation. But what about this little girl who was from Israel? What had she done wrong to be in her situation? Nothing. In verse 2, now the Syrians on one of their raids had carried off a little girl from the land of Israel, and she worked in the service of Naaman's wife. This little girl, taken away from her homeland, her family, her friends, but not her God. She was not taken away from her faith to know that God is the answer. She had no control of her situation, but it did not change her direction because she knew it's God's direction. In this world, your situation may change your direction, but it will be you that walks away from God's direction. In verse 3, she said to her mistress, "If only my master would see the prophet who is in Samaria, he would cure him of his leprosy." This little girl was not focused on her situation, but she was focused on God's direction. God will always be there, regardless of your situation. Naaman went to his master, and he told him in verse 4 what the little girl from Israel had said. This little girl, in a bad situation, was going to help Naaman find God's direction. Now that is powerful. That is something that we can live. That is something that we can do. We can't control our situation, but we can walk in God's direction. God did cure Naaman of leprosy, and we're happy that he began to worship God. But what about the slave girl? We never read because of what she did that her situation changed. We don't read that her situation changed and she got to go in a different direction and to go home and be with her family once again and her friends. Maybe it's because she was already going in God's direction. What about you? Don't let your situation take you away from God's direction.